Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kesgrave Panthers podcast. Today, our special guest is GB head coach Stuart Raven. So, how are you feeling today, Stuart?
Feeling good, Noah and Charles. Yeah, very good indeed. Waiting for the to be bombarded with your with your questions.
So we'll start off as usual with how did you get into Soccer Speedway?
I got into cycle speedway like a lot of other people with going to Speedway and wanting to emulate the my heroes on the track. And a neighbour said to me, he said, "Well, they do this on push bikes down at by Cardiff City Football Ground." And he said, "Do you want to come down and have a go, have a look?" Which I did, and the track was directly opposite the football ground, and so went down, had a go, really enjoyed what I did, sort of in a really rough and frugal way, but got hooked straight away, wanted to do this. And yeah, but the track, the tracks that you're used to, you boys, it was basically a starting gate, some fire hose for bends, and then during match day, everybody parked on it. It was really a rough track. But then a couple of years later, then we had a council built track about 100 yards to the right of the original track, which was a much better facility. But it's 1965. That's when I started. Yeah, a long time ago.
So how old were you when you started?
15. I was a late starter, but compared to what when you see what the British Youth and Junior are coming along with, I mean, I was coaching last night, a little 6-year-old, and loving it, So I was a late starter in some respects, but picked it up reasonably quick. Lots of falls, lots of grazes, lots of blood, but still enjoyed it.
Would you say that you if you do still ride, then yeah, would you say you miss riding in meetings and stuff like that?
I miss it like hell. I retired in the summer of 76. Your parents would know about the summer of 76. It was one of the hottest summers on record, and it's one of my biggest regrets, because from then on things started to kick off regarding home internationals. I missed out on so much, and there's a regret. I retired too early, and it was basically down to my nerves. I used to get extremely nervous before a match, to the point I wouldn't. Nobody came near me because I was just unapproachable. I'd get in the corner of the pits, just keep away from me. And then after that, and I'm sure you're the same regarding racing, you get that first race out of the way, and everything calms down and gets back to normal. But no, I was, and that was basically the reason I packed up. It was nerves, but I love the sport so much, and I came back into it with one of the parents who used to go over the Speedway, and it was a typical father and son relationship. He said, "I can't do it. Tell him a thing." He said, "I heard you used to do this." And I came back into the sport and started loosely what they call coaching, but then Newport Cycle Speedway put me through my coaching courses to become an official coach, and I loved it. So that was 2001. I came back into the sport, so and love it. Can't get enough of it. And this year it's been so with the COVID lockdown. I don't know about you two. I can't wait. I just can't wait for next weekend. I'm really, really looking forward to it. So, yeah. But yeah, that's it.
So, can you remember your first meeting that you rode at?
Yeah, I was lonely. I was a lonely. We went down to the roads. Weren't, as I say, I'm taking you way back in time now. But we used to go down to do a southwest tour, and we went down to Exeter, and on the Saturday, stayed over at one of the and rode against Dawlish. I think it was Dawlish Devils or Dawlish Demons, but I just went down for just to see what was going on, because I just started riding, and they were short so my first match was, I rode for Dawlish. They said, well, we're a rider short. They said, bung him in the team then. So I was shot in the side for so my first ride was for Dawlish Devils, or Dawlish Demons. And again, I was so nervous, but I'm sure you all get nervous before a match. It's not a bad thing, but to me it was affecting my riding, or the preparation for my riding. But no, I loved it. Yeah, Dawlish was my first match.
Yeah. Would you say that that meeting, like, you ended up knowing what you wanted from like the sport, or would you say like it took you a few like rides to really get to know what you wanted?
Oh, I think the first time I went down to Cardiff, I loved it. I thought I can emulate my Speedway heroes, and I thought, I want this, I want it bad. And I was hooked from the start. Loved the sport, still do, still passionate about it, still get nervous. I ride when I'm watching you, like I was watching you at A&T usually, and congratulations on your first cap. I should ask you, what did that feel like?
Oh no, it was good. It was well better than
yeah. It's putting on an international shirt or a GB shirt is, it must be brilliant. But I've forgotten what the question was now. But getting out of the sport, no, still love the sport. And saying about the I get nervous for every ride. I ride every ride. When you're out with whatever team I'm involved with, I'm on that bike. And I suppose if anybody looked at me in the pits, I'm moving around, jumping up and down the fence. And I think the Poles even know when I'm there, because I keep shouting, watch your line. And they said, we don't like it in English. You must see it in Polish, which is mała. And you can do it in Welsh as well, which is llanyn.
What would you say is your most memorable moment in the sport?
Well, for me, it's probably small fry for what you can achieve nowadays. But for me, it was the Welsh Championship. I was Welsh champion twice. I think the first one, because before Cardiff closed, we went over to Tarmac, and we did it over. It was quite unique. I'm almost sure we did it over 2 legs. So we did a leg in Cardiff, which was on Tarmac, and then a second leg in Newport, which was on shale. And then that was in 71, and then I won it again in 1975. But those are my sort of two. For me, that was my most memorable moment. Apart from then getting involved with Team GB, and that's down to the credit of Dave Murphy. Well, I don't know, perhaps it's a burden really, but he saw something in me that could add to the team, and I still don't know what, but he thinks that I added something to the actual management. So I can't thank him enough for that, because it's been great. I've loved every minute of that.
Going back to your Welsh Championship wins, like, how did it feel to win your first ever Welsh Championship?
Oh, absolutely brilliant! It was the for that moment in time, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me within my sport, because there was basically it was only Cardiff and Newport really that was involved in Wales. That was the only 2 teams, but to be the best of all the riders in Wales, I was so chuffed, and it sort of mean a big amount to me. But it was a target. You were a target, and the one thing that I would never do. I think there was a couple of times when they selected the team, they said, "Oh, you're number 1." I would never ever ride number 1. because I always thought I was going to be a target. And we used to have sort of arguments with the team manager. I said, if you put me in as number one, I won't ride. And I never did ride number one. Didn't like it. Didn't like being, I don't know, the center of attention, and still don't really. I prefer to be in the background, and then making a nuisance of myself. But yeah, stay in the background.
Would you say that you have a favourite track?
Well, at the time it was Cardiff, because we were quite unique that we were tarmac. We where we were located, where Cardiff City Stadium is now, because they moved it across the road from where it was originally. It's a relatively new stadium now. So that I think it's the Canton Stand. It's buried under the Canton Stand. The track is buried under there, and we were getting a lot of vandalism. So one of the boys said, "Let's go up to Edmonton. There's a tarmac track." We said, "We don't want to go tarmac. Cycle Speedway is shale." But when we went on it and we rode it, it was, if ever you sort of practice in a car park or something, the closest you will get to it is indoor racing, and the speed you get, but you've got to go low. You've got to go dead low, but you go low at your own risk. Otherwise, you're going to go a flyer, and you come off at tarmac, and it hurts. It bloody hurt. Oh, sorry, it hurts. It really does hurt. But I would say Cardiff, and there used to be a track in, I think it was Berkshire, called Hungerford. Tight little track, and they used to have the Hungerford Festival around about Easter time, and they'd get teams from all over Manchester, Southampton. I remember being there, Offerton from the north, from Manchester, and it was a great festival, usually on the Easter Monday. That one, and Bristol Airport Road, that was a great track. Quite long straights, fairly tight bends, but banking, really good banking. You could use the banking to swoop down, sort of do all the cutbacks. Yeah, they were the favourites. Yeah, Cardiff was good. Cardiff was good, shale and tarmac.
Would you say that you enjoy I don't know, the aspect of riding or managing more?
Oh, not managing. Definitely not me. No. I'd never be able to manage. I think you've got to have, I keep saying you've got to have if you're a good manager, you've got to know how to read a program, by which I mean tactically. And I was never, again, I would get so involved with the riding aspect of I would just lose it. To be quite, I'm sort of like on the bike with the riders, if you know what I mean. I just lose. I would lose concentration. So I did team manage one year at Newport along with Nick Evans and Colin Simmons, but I think they did more of the work than I did, because I was more looking after the riders in the pits and one thing and another like that. But no, it's definitely not team management, Noah. That's never been my game. Never want to, really. It's and you carry the burden if things do go wrong. You're the one that's going to carry the sword, as it were. So no, if ever you're thinking of a team manager, never think of me.
So you said that the tarmac tracks were like the indoor ones. So did you ride much indoor?
No. I was saying that would be the comparison. You would get now, because of the speed and the way you have to, and the style that you have to ride it. There were no indoor tracks. I think the only three main tarmac tracks in the country at the time were Edmonton in London, Bournemouth, and Cardiff. And then eventually Cardiff, because of the vandalism, we closed, and then we closed in 73, and most of the riders then transferred up to Newport, which was a purpose-built track up there, which was shale. And so we all went back. Bournemouth, I think, eventually then, I'm not sure whether they went back to shale, but they eventually closed, and then most of their riders went to pool. But and then I think Edmonton, and even Edmonton went back to shale. So it was a good experiment, because I know that when we first went up there, we rode it like, if you rode if you rode tarmac like shale, we did it at Edmonton, and I think that was the one thing I did. I went into the first bend and I went straight over the safety fence. I went straight over the fence because I rode it too straight. And then they said, no, you've got to ride it. So it was a completely different technique. But as far as I loved it because it was so fast. But like I say, if you came off, goodness help you, it hurt. It bloody did hurt.
Yeah, so,
but try it. Find a car park and try it, Noah. It's lovely.
So you say you're now a coach at Newport, and I've ridden there. It's a very, very nice track and facilities, I must say. But would you say you?
Sorry, go on. Yeah, I saw the comment from Mr. Timms, and I've seen him since. It'll be nice for him on Sunday, I can assure him.
Yeah. Would you do you think you would have you might have ridden it, but do you think you would have ridden some meetings there? Do you think it would be nice?
I I'm biased because I look after it, but I think it's a good track. It is a big track. We when it was built, we didn't intend it to be that big, but we were told, I think it was because of the safety aspect, we weren't allowed to go on the site. And the people who built the track, the contractors who built the track, they were coming to do the way they built it. They had plenty of room down the one end, but if you notice at Newport, the first and second bench go more or less into the car park, and they basically ran out of room. So that's why you can't really spectate on the first and second bend. And then we saw the actual shape and we went, crikey, this is going to be massive. Because I was looking at the dimensions of it today, and I think it's 81 meters in length. We're not the biggest. I think East Park is the biggest, and Wensfield and Wensfield is 87.4. I'm just doing a little bit of homework here, and I think East Park is the biggest. But I know that people do complain about the size of it. But I think if you've got the legs, it shouldn't. It's not a trick track. It's if you've got your fitness, I can't see any problems with it. But as I say, that I'm biased because I look after it. But I would, if in my day, I would, I look at now and basically because I'm full of tin. I mean, I've got artificial hips and knee. I would love to, I'm not scared of falling off. I'm scared of my wife because she'd kill me if she knew I was on a bike. And but I would love to race in those. I'm sort of in the middle, shouting at everybody to do this and to do that in coaching. But I would love to be on a bike and racing. The thing is with coaching, you're the biggest hypocrite of the lot. I'm saying do this, do that, and I'm telling people to do, sort of gate a certain way, take the bend. And I know that I couldn't do it myself. I think you'll find out with a lot of coaches, that, because I remember, I remembered saying to this lad, I said, look, you've got to do this. I said, just give me the bike. And went round, did 2 fast laps. My lungs were bursting. And I thought, well, to finish off with a flurry, I'll show this kid how I can ride a bike. And I came in to try and do a big broadside, went A over T, landed on my back. And he said, well, I wasn't very clever. I said, no. I said, that's how you fall off a bike properly. And then he said, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So he didn't. So I avoided my embarrassment by telling him that's how you fell off a bike. That actually, I think there is a way of falling off a bike, but that's another story. But yeah.
So would you say you have any tracks that you dislike?
I got to be careful here. Well, when I did ride, there were 2 big tracks. There was and these 2 teams were awesome. They were at the top of their so-called league. Well, they were the top of the 2 teams in the English league. It was Southampton and Wensfield, and not for the only particular reason I would say I disliked them. It was because they were huge. They were, you know, from what I was used to riding at Newport and at Cardiff, they were massive tracks. But you knew you were going to go up there for a pummeling because they had legendary teams. There was no way you were going to beat him or get him even close. And I know that I went up with, I think it was one of the last meetings I went to Wensfield with Newport. And I think they beat us by about 110 something. It was just like we were getting 7-3s against us all. I think we got a couple of 5-alls, but that was about it. You know, you had Roger Ellis, you had all the top riders down there. You had Southampton, Colin Wheeler, Suttons, the Mills brothers. It was, you know, you were in awe of the teams you were riding against, but not any particular reason, just purely because of the sizes. You know, it was massive. And in those days, it's the only time I would change gearing on a bike. I'd go from the old terminology of a 2-under, which was which would be the equivalent of a 3318 now, to a 1-under, which was you'd lose on the gate, but you'd gain on the straights because of the speed. But yeah, so please, people of Southampton and Wensfield, don't take offence. It was just purely the size.
Yeah, so like these teams, you say they're top of the league. So like when you were riding, did you ever like idolize someone that you wanted to?
Oh, yeah. It was sort of Roger Ellis, Jeff Patman, Tamlow, Alan Miller he was about the same age as me, I think. He was just coming on, and so I didn't see him to his fruition because he used to have a phenomenal gait. Tam Lowe did, but he used to ride such a low gearing, but he could get around a big track. But these people and they still are legends. And it's nice now to talk, you know, to talking to your legends if they're your mates, you know, and it's good to sort of know them as friends now. But in those days, you were just in awe of these riders, you know, and you were beaten before you even came out of the pits. Thinking, well, if I could just stay close. I think I was about half a wheel behind. I never did. I can't remember his name now. He was down at Cardiff. Colin Wheeler, and he rode on tarmac, which you'd never seen. And I still couldn't get near him. He was so good, you know. And but yeah, they were people who know, and you just couldn't wait for these riders to come to your track. But then they just pummel you into the ground. They were so good. And the other one, there was a lovely, really an unlikely great rider for Bournemouth was Derrick Knight. Lovely gentleman, but and sadly he's not with us anymore.
So would you say that you had a favourite team riding partner?
Oh yes, and a good mate to this day, a lad by the name of Andy Scantlebury. Now Andy and I, I don't know how to classify me riding style to somebody you know. I would probably, my style would be something like Charlie Rumble or Leon Mower. So if there ain't a gap, you're going to make a gap. Despite the carnage, it follows. And Andy was a bit more stylish than me, but a lot of riders never understood how we rode, but we knew exactly what each other was going to do. And he was a great lad. And to this day, yeah, we reminisce continuously about the old days. But I used to ride like a bag of mad rats. I was a nutter. I couldn't say I was a finesse or a gaiter or I did most of my passing from the back because I was never a good gaiter. And I relied on making gaps and usually Monday visits to the local bike shop for spokes and cotter pins. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I was a stylish rider, just a nutter.
Yeah, so I think we've done quite well today. I've had a bit of an insight into Stuart Raven's Soccer Speedway life. So yes, thank you for joining us today.
Okay, that's a pleasure. Been a pleasure, boys.
And thank you, Charlie, for being with me as usual.
No problem.
And we'll see everybody next time. Goodbye.